Investigators are set to give an update on the search for Nancy Guthrie as Savannah and her siblings release a heartbreaking video pleading for proof that their 84-year-old mother is still alive. The family addressed potential captors directly, saying, quote, "We are ready to talk." The video is powerful. It went viral within minutes of it being posted last night. Here's a portion.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you.
This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here with my co-hosts Emily Compagno and Kayleigh McEnany. Also joining us today, Rosanna Scotto, Fox 5 New York anchor and host of The Underground Economy on Fox Nation, and Bill Hemmer, co-anchor of America's Newsroom. Let's go live to senior correspondent Alicia Acuna in Tucson, Arizona, with the latest on this. So we are less than an hour away, Alicia, from the first update we've had in more than a day.
That's right, Harris. Yeah, and as we await this news conference coming up, one of the big questions we hope that they will be willing to answer is what exactly prompted the return and all that work we saw by multiple agencies late in the afternoon. Our crews were here. They got the video. We saw both local authorities and federal authorities, including Border Patrol with canines, back here at the scene. It was cordoned off with police tape while they searched the property. Agents could be seen working in the back of the home. They were also in the garage. The Pima County Sheriff's Department previously said the scene had been cleared, but then had to do some follow-up work. Law enforcement also spent time at Savannah Guthrie's sister Annie's home. The family is believed to be gathered there. It's possible agents assisted the Guthrie children in making that video released last night.
We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
NBC News reports sources tell them Guthrie's pacemaker appeared to be disconnected from its monitoring app early in the morning on Sunday. There will no doubt be questions about that in this upcoming news conference. Also, here's a close-up image of the door camera mount on Nancy Guthrie's front door. You can see the camera itself is gone, adding to the mystery here. And Harris, as you know, the president talked to Savannah Guthrie. He has promised the full force of federal resources here on the ground. The FBI was actually working almost immediately here. They offer some expertise, especially when you consider all the technological evidence that's around. They are digging into that right now, going through those forensics. Harris.
Yeah, the best of the best at that, now that they're on the ground. Alicia, thank you very much. Rosanna, you and I shared a look. Boy, we've seen some things in our careers.
We've seen a lot of things, and we both, I care for my mother who's older, so my heart breaks for Savannah, and anybody who's out there who knows their mother is in their 80s, you know how fragile they are. This morning on Good Day New York, I interviewed the executive producer of TMZ. Somehow TMZ always has some inside information. They are also one of the outlets that received the ransom note. What the executive producer told me was two things. They are very hopeful that Savannah's mother is alive, which I thought was a beautiful thing to think that we're all on the same page, that she's alive, and that's why maybe Savannah last night did this heartfelt plea to them to please bring their mother home, and what she means to the family, the worth to the family. And the other thing that they talked about was the ransom note. They could not give too many details about what was in the ransom note, but one interesting thing was they asked for the money in Bitcoin. Anybody who knows Bitcoin knows it's very difficult to trace who it's going to. TMZ did a little bit of research on that. They said it was a legitimate account, but they didn't know who it belonged to. But as we all know, time is of the essence. This woman is older. She needs her medication. The other thing that kind of worries me is that this area that they live in is a beautiful, safe area. They're not used to this kind of crime. This is not New York City. This is a beautiful, small little area where everybody kind of knows one another. And it's fantastic that the president has weighed in and has given all the resources of the FBI to try to find this woman safely.
Yeah, I want to get to this right away. Fox News Digital drove the likely route from Nancy's daughter's house to Nancy's home. And the significance of this, of course, is because they reportedly had gone out to dinner. They were driving her home. And this route is about 4.3 miles. Much of it is, although you can see some areas with stop signs and a few businesses, much of it is speed bumps along the way, but some very residential areas. The good thing about those cameras is that, those traffic lights, is that many of them will have cameras, so that will aid in all of this. But it's a quiet area, and Rosanna, you described it perfectly. This is not New York City, Bill.
Yeah. Far from it, too. There was a full moon over the weekend, and a lot of people have suggested that, they have this neighborhood where they don't like the lights to project because they like to see the stars. It's part of the reason why you live in the southwestern part of the country. What I'm most keenly interested in right now is whether or not this news conference at 1 o'clock brings us new information. 2 days ago, there were a lot of questions that went to that sheriff, and frankly, he did not offer or did not have a lot of answers. So I think that's issue number one. I think with regard to the ransom note, there was an interesting interview that was done with a news anchor in Arizona who had seen the email that came into her studio. Let me come back to the moment. This is a cover of the New York Post. We look at this every day, right? Every time we come in here. You saw the anguish on Savannah's face and her older sister and older brother in that video. And just this shot itself, this is the last place you want to be when you're worried about the whereabouts and the life and death situation of your 84-year-old mom. My mother's 86, and she needs care at home. I think about her every day and, like, how's she doing? How's her well-being? Are we having a good day? And I think a lot of people at home can relate to that. And they can relate to what's happening here. It's such a unique story. I don't know. I can't. Elizabeth Smart was a dramatic story. Natalie Holloway was a dramatic story. But they became well known, if you can use that phrase, after they disappeared. Savannah is in the limelight every day. And so it's just unique in that way. This news anchor in Arizona said she saw the email. She works with KOLD 13 News. I think we've matched some of this. I don't know if we've matched all of it. So I'll just quote her just to be accurate for her perspective. Some very sensitive information and things that people who weren't there when she was taken captive would not know. It included a dollar amount, a deadline, and other specifics that Guthrie's abductor might know. So that definitely raised some red flags. I think as soon as this email hit their inbox, they knew at that time that they were onto something. There's a critical question that needs to be answered, and I'm not so sure we're going to get it. I'm not sure they even want to answer this question. Have they established contact with the person who sent that email?
Yeah, it's a good one. One of the things that Dan O'Shea, who is former Navy SEAL commander and has led the way home for Americans who were taken at the start of the Iraq War, who were kidnapped in that country, one of the things he said was, in the very beginnings of these things, you can kind of figure out where people are, and then you put pressure on them so that they absolutely feel forced to release a live victim. And it was really compelling. So, yeah, you're right. They could know who this is, and they could be applying. This was pressure last night. That was maximum pressure. You put her in a human lane and put her responsibility off on that individual. They may not be thinking of it that way.
Yeah, you're exactly right. When I watched that video, which of course breaks everyone's heart, it struck me as there were two audiences it was intended for. Number one, Nancy, and hearing her talk about her mother in such a touching, loving way, calling her a daughter of God, saying she's in a valley, giving her hope. That was intended to express hope. And we heard Elizabeth Smart's dad on your show express that. You are trying to get a message to this victim. But number two, you cling to hope. And there is this ransom note. And it sent that very clear message. We are ready to listen. It was a language that if you're a captor, perhaps maybe it will strike your interest. Maybe you will reach out. Maybe you'll make contact. They asked for proof of life. Look, that could be a video of Nancy. It could be something that only Nancy would know. We know that, as you described, there's some reporting about the interior of the house, details that might be only known to a certain group of people, but non-public details would be another proof of life. But I was very intrigued as you were playing that video Fox News Digital got, the path to her home, that last path that Nancy Guthrie took before this horrific incident. And if you look at the words on that video, they said it's mostly residential. And you know this because you're from this area, Harris. It's hilly, windy roads, and at night there are few lights. And it made me remember when we were covering the capture of Tyler Robinson, the importance of cameras, and they called it camera chasing. You know, you caught Tyler Robinson on one camera, and then you go to the next, and then you go to the next. And that was fairly easy. I'm going to use the word easy in that situation because he's walking down the road. He has a gait that is really abnormal, and you could go from house to house to house. This is rural. It is dark. This is difficult. And we just cling to hope that Nancy returns because this is what you're up against.
Well, and Bill mentioned it's on purpose like that. In fact, there are hundreds to thousands of dollars in fines if you disturb that light pattern of low light in those areas because people pay a lot of money to be in a place where there's no light and they can see that beautiful view.
See the solar system.
You know, a case that I've been thinking about that I think is similar in how deeply it has touched the national heartstrings, how horrified every single American is at this situation, at the thought of here an elderly woman, someone's mom, an 84-year-old being plucked from her bed, that the Polly Klaas kidnapping, she was plucked from her bed as well while her mother was in the next room. The similarity ends there, but I think to underscore the point about the absolute shock that you are supposed to be safe in your own bed in this neighborhood that is desirable, a goal neighborhood for so many people that desire peace and safety and beauty and those incredible stars at night. And when you think about a family member of a celebrity, you think for some reason there's like an added layer of protection, and this just brings it back that if she's not safe, no one is. And what a terrifying thought that is. And in the ransom note, I've covered so many cases with those kind of notes. I think about the Chowchilla bus kidnapping where there was a ransom note and it never even got into the hands of law enforcement because the parents had flooded the lines with their fear and their worry. Every case is different, but there's also similarities. And here I think the importance of hostage negotiation, if this is what's happening, experts like Kyle Vowinkle, who have been historic in managing these horrific situations, identifying the veracity of such, identifying, allegedly that note went into like the local branch of TMZ. So is this a local individual? And the thought of a family having to keep it together enough to even articulate a response to this, if it is true, and God willing that she's still alive and all of those things that we are praying so deeply for. But I can't imagine even standing upright in that situation, let alone having that moral character and ability to tell the world and to tell your mother you are praying for her and you know that you will obtain her safe return.
That's their love coming through that, through that video. I don't know if this question's been answered. If it has, stop me. Did she drive? Can she drive? Did she like to drive? Was it only like during the daytime? That's the reason why she would be driven home by her son-in-law that night?
It's a good question. I saw early on in when the sheriff was out front talking, I saw that there were questions about whether she had a car in the driveway or in the garage.
The reason I asked that question is because if she's going to church at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning and that's her consistent pattern, then someone's going to her home to take her there if she doesn't take herself. When we deal with a lot of elderly people, they don't like to drive at nighttime because their vision is gone.
Or they can't.
So and maybe she couldn't drive at night, but could during the day. But I just think it's maybe that's something that Alicia or Paul or somebody might be able to.
That's an interesting point because the call went to the family when she didn't show up at church. Right. I want to get this in here. The Faulkner Focus team reached out to Google just separately from what's been reported about Nest and the home with the cloud cameras. Just wanted to start some veins of communication with them. We are assisting law enforcement with their investigations. I think we knew that, but also, they say this is an ongoing investigation and we cannot share further details at this time. So there is some activity there. And we'll keep those veins open, as I'm sure every journalist is going to.
One thing that's really, everybody's got these cameras now, right? You can look at it on your phone or your computer or your iPad. And I'm sure she had the ability to do that. I think, knowing the amount of care that she's getting, that her kids two daughters and son had access to the same app that she did
Well, we
to,
hope
to
so.
watch the camera.
Yeah,
We've talked about
and
that.
that hasn't really been cleared up yet either. So another one for
We
us.
would hope so, because that's what you brought up
Right.
like
Yesterday.
right after this
Yeah.
happened.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.